3rd April 2023 Morning Murli Shanti BapDada Madhuban. Sweet children, the Father has come to give each of you a third eye of knowledge with which you become wise and come to know the beginning, the middle and the end of the world. Question: what is the easy way to make both you, the soul and your body, pure and clean right to a royal status? Answer: exchange everything, what straws that you have, including your body. Hand everything over to the Father. Sacrifice yourself fully. Make the Father your trustee. Continue to follow Srimad, and both you, the soul and your body will become pure and you will claim a royal status. Janak surrendered himself and received liberation in life. When you children make the Father your heir, you will receive all rights for 21 births. Song: show the path to the blind ones, dear God. Shanti. You children heard the song. Devotees call out to God because of not knowing God accurately. People are so unhappy. They continue to beat their heads so much on the path of devotion. It is not a question of just this one birth. They have been wandering around from the time that the path of devotion began. It was only in Bharat that there was the kingdom of bhakti of worship deities. That was called heaven, the land of truth. Bharat is now the land of falsehood. The praise of Bharat is very great because it is the birthplace of the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. His real name is Shiv. People celebrate Shiv Jayanti. It is not called Rudra or Somnath Jayanti. It is called Shiv Jayanti or Shivratri. Now all are without sight and without an intellect because the five vices have entered them. Ravan has made them without sight or intellect. They continue to cause sorrow for one another. When Bharat was heaven, there was no mention of sorrow. It is heavenly God the Father who establishes heaven. The God of all the devotees has to be one. All are without sight. They don't have an eye of knowledge or divine insight. God speaks, I teach you Raj Yoga. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the main one. Shri means you are now being made wise by elevated directions. The divine eye means each of you is given a third eye of knowledge. In fact, you Brahmins received the third eye of knowledge through which you know the Father and the beginning, the middle and the end of the Father's creation. At this time, it is the ego of the body and the five vices that are omnipresent. This is why all are in extreme darkness. You children are enlightened. You souls know the history and geography of the whole world. Previously, all of you were ignorant. When the Sadguru gives the ointment of knowledge, the darkness of ignorance is dispelled. Those who were worthy of worship have become worshippers. Those who are worthy of worship are in the light, and those who are worshippers are in darkness. God Himself is not called a worthy of worship one, who then becomes a worshipper. He is supremely worthy of worship. The one who makes everyone else worthy of worship, he is called supremely worthy of worship, the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. Krishna cannot be called thus. No one would call him God the Father. Everyone only calls incorporeal God, God the Father. He too is a soul, but because he is the Supreme, he is called the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. The form of souls and the Supreme Soul is the same. We are definitely souls, and God is the one who constantly resides in the Supreme Abode. In English, He is called the Supreme Soul. The Father says, "You have been saying that souls remain separated from the Supreme Soul for a long time. It isn't that God remains separated from God for a long time. No, the foremost ignorance is to say that each soul is the Supreme Soul and that the Supreme Soul is each soul. Souls enter the cycle of birth and rebirth. God doesn't take rebirth. The Father sits here and explains, "You people of power who are what to worship, residents of heaven. All of this is therefore the godly family. Acha, tell me, whom do you call the mother and father? Who says this? It is your souls who say you are the mother and father and receive a lot of happiness of heaven through your mercy. We did receive a lot of happiness in heaven. You, the mother and father, come and establish heaven, and so we became your children." The Father says, "I only come at the confluence age and teach you Raj Yoga for the new world." The Father comes and explains, "You have forgotten me. You people celebrate my Shiv Jayanti, means birthday of Shiv, in Bharat. Do you know? Shiv Ratri means night of Shiv is also remembered. Which night? This is the unlimited night of Brahma. He comes at the confluence age and changes night into day, that is, he changes hell into heaven. No one knows the meaning of Shivratri. God is incorporeal. The names of the bodies of human beings change birth after birth. The Supreme Soul says, "I don't have a name for a body. My name is always Shiv. I simply take the support of an old retired body. This one was worthy of worship and has now become a worshipper. Shivbaba comes and creates heaven. We are his children, and so we should surely be the masters of heaven. Should we not? Shivbaba is the highest on high. The parts of Brahma, Vishnu and Shankar are their own. Each actor has his own individual part. Each soul's path of happiness is fixed. The Father comes every cycle and makes the residents of power into residents of heaven. People have forgotten him. They say, so and so has become a resident of heaven. Oh, but it is now hell, and so he would surely take rebirth in hell too. Would he not? So why do you give that soul the food of hell? In heaven, they have so many physical comforts. So why do you invoke that soul here and give him the food of hell? You give food to an impure Brahmin priest and you serve him onions, etc. These things do not exist there. Therefore, just look at the condition of Bharat. God speaks, "I am now giving each of you a third eye of knowledge. You will then become the kings of kings once again." Deities have taken 84 births and changed from worthy of worship to worshippers. You know that we became Shivbaba's heirs. Shivbaba made us into residents of heaven, and this is why everyone remembers him and says, "Oh God, the Father, have mercy." Even holy men make spiritual endeavor. Because there is sorrow here, they want to go to the land of Nirvana. A soul cannot merge into the Supreme Soul. To think that is a mistake. You now say, we souls are residents of the Supreme Abode. We souls will go into the deity clan and then take 84 births again. From the deity clan, we souls will then go into the warrior, merchant and Shudra clans. Shivbaba doesn't enter birth and rebirth. He simply comes and makes Bharat into heaven. It is remembered There was the Sun dynasty kingdom of Sri Lakshmi and Narayan in the Golden Age, just as there were Edward I, II, III in the Christian dynasty. In the same way, there are Lakshmi and Narayan the first, second, third there. In this way, there is a dynasty of 8. The third eye of each of you Brahmins has now opened. The Father sits here and speaks to your souls. It was by going around the cycle of 8 births that you have taken this many births. They have made a picture of the different plants in which they shown the deity, warrior, merchant and Shudra clans. You now know that we Brahmins are the top knot. At this time, we are God's children in a practical way. We are now receiving a lot of happiness from Raj Yoga and knowledge. Some claim the inheritance of the Sun dynasty king and queen, and others claim that of the Moon dynasty. The whole kingdom is being established. Each of you will claim that status through your own efforts. If any of you asked what status you would receive if you were to leave your body while studying, Baba could tell you, only by having yoga will your lifespan increase and will your sins also be absolved. There is no other way to become pure from impure. By saying purified, you remember God, but no one knows who God is. The Father says, I come in Bharat. This is my birthplace. The Somnath temple was so beautiful. Only the Father explains all of this to you children. Scriptures of this are then made later on. All of those memorials begin to be created on the path of devotion. When people become worshippers, they first build a temple to Somnath, means Lord of Nectar. Bharat was very wealthy in the golden and silver ages. They had limitless wealth and the temples. Bharat was as valuable as a diamond. It is now poverty-stricken. What shells? The Father has come and is once again making Bharat as valuable as a diamond. The whole tree has reached a state of total decay. The Father says, look at your face in the mirror. Are you worthy of marrying Lakshmi or Narayan? There is the story of the Narad. How could an impure soul marry pure Lakshmi or Narayan? When you indulge in vice, your passport is cancelled. You have to look at yourselves. Am I making such effort that I can be seated on the throne of Mama and Baba? This is an impure world. Purity is the main thing. There is now no health, no wealth, no happiness. This kingdom is like a mirage. There is the story of Duryodhan in the scriptures about this. Duryodhan is someone who indulges in vice. Draupadi says, protect my honor. You are Draupadi's. The Father explains so well. To the extent that your intellects are connected fully in yoga, accordingly, you will also be able to imbibe. Knowledge is studied in the state of celibacy. The Father says, while living at home with your families, live like a lotus. Fulfill your responsibilities to both sides. You definitely have to die. When a person is about to die, he is given a mantra. The Father says, all of you are going to die. I, the death of all deaths, will take everyone back. Therefore, you should be happy. Should you not? Those who study well will become the masters of heaven. Those who don't study will claim a status of subjects. You have come here to claim a royal status. This is a study. There is no question of blind faith here. This study is for claiming a kingdom. You have an aim, an objective in other studies. When you are to become a barrister, you have to connect your yoga to the teacher who teaches you. Similarly, here God is teaching you, and so you have to have yoga with Him. The Father says, I come from the Supreme Abode, from very far away. The Supreme Abode, it's so high. It is even higher than the subtle region. It takes me a second to come from there. Nothing can be faster than Him. I give you liberation in life in a second. There is the example of Janak. It is now hell, the old world. Heaven is called the new world. The Father inspires the destruction of hell and the establishment of heaven. However, what would you receive by saying that He is omnipresent? Nothing at all. The Father comes and makes you into the masters of heaven, whereas all other souls will go to the land of peace. Souls are immortal and have received an eternal path. So how could souls be bigger or smaller? Souls are stars. They cannot be any bigger or smaller. You are Godfatherly students. God the Father is knowledgeful and blissful. He is now teaching you. You know that we will become deities once again in this way. You are serving Bharat. First of all, you have to belong to the Father. In other places, people go to gurus. They belong to Him. That is, people make them their gurus. Here there is the Father. And so, you first have to become the Father's children. The Father gives you children, His property. The Father says, children, exchange everything. Everything of yours, what's yours, is mine. Everything of mine is yours. Give me whatever you have, including your bodies. I will purify you, souls, and your bodies too, and then also give you a royal status. Sacrifice whatever you have. Make me your trustee and follow my Srimad. Janak ascended himself together with his kingdom, and so he received liberation in life. Baba, all of this is yours. You see, make me your hair. I will make you my hair for 21 births. Simply follow my directions. You may do your business, go abroad, do anything you want, but simply follow my directions. You have to remain cautious. Maya will repeatedly make you fall. You mustn't commit any sins. Follow Srimad at every step and you will become elevated. The Father is the bestower. He simply makes you into trustees. You see, God has given this wealth and this child, etc. Now God says, give everything to me. I will exchange it for you. I promise that when you follow Srimad, I will make you so elevated. This is Raj Yoga. Lakshmi and Narayan became that through this Raj Yoga. Birla himself, who built the Lakshmi and Narayan temple, doesn't know how Lakshmi and Narayan became so wealthy. The Father now explains, the poor ones here will become wealthy there. Everything of the wealthy here is turned to dust. Acha, to the sweetest, beloved, long lost, and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the Mother, the Father, BapDada. The spiritual Father says, Namaste to the spiritual children. The spiritual children says, Namaste and good morning to the spiritual Father. Essence for the Dharana. First point, in order to be seated on the throne of the Mother and Father, you have to imbibe purity. Fulfill your responsibilities to both sides and pay full attention to this study. Second point, do not commit any sins. Remain very cautious and continue to follow Srimad. Definitely become a trustee. Blessing. May you be a jewel of the forehead and constantly keep your awareness of the Father merged in the center of your forehead. Explanation. A jewel of the forehead means constantly having remembrance of the Father in one's head. This is known as the higher stage. Always consider yourselves to be an elevated soul who is stable in the higher stage and thereby continue to move forward. Those who stay in this highest stage are easily able to overcome all of the many types of situations down below. The problems stay down below and you stay up above. The place for the jewels of the forehead is high on the forehead, and so do not come down. Stay constantly up above. Slogan: in order to experience the stage of a carefree emperor, transform mine into yours. Om Shanti